Refugees are important social and economic assets to the countries in which they resettle, including the United States. We'll explore some of these positive impacts together. But let's first consider refugee resettlement from a moral lens. Why is it important to offer refuge to people in need? At its most basic level, refugee resettlement is grounded in both human dignity and a value for basic human rights. That is, all people, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, or other quality, are entitled to basic protections, safety, and the ability to meet their basic needs. This fundamental belief in human dignity is one that cuts across nationality, political opinion, and more. Put simply, caring for others simply because they are human is the why of resettlement. So, while we explore the ways in which refugees contribute to our community in this segment, it is important to remember that refugees have inherent worth, just as you or me. Now, we'll take a look at some of the fiscal benefits of welcoming refugees to our Colorado community. The Economic and Fiscal Impact of Refugees in Colorado report, commissioned by the Colorado Refugee Services Program, tracked the investments in and outputs of 2,700 refugees over a 10-year period from 2007 to 2017 to understand their impact on the state's economy. First, refugees are paying into our taxation systems. With that, they are also contributing to core programs like Social Security and Medicare, helping to offset deficits brought on by our aging U.S. population. Household income for refugee families often starts off low. After all, newly arrived refugees are working through language learning, job training, and in many cases, trauma. While many refugees receive public benefits like food stamps and Medicaid when they first arrive, they often go off of public assistance quickly. Modest initial investments like these are quickly repaid in the form of earnings, spending power, and taxation. Let's explore the data a little further. In fact, for every $1 our state invests in refugees, $1.68 is generated in industry activity or total output. In addition, every $1 earned by a resettled refugee generates more than $25 throughout Colorado's economy. Refugees help keep our communities alive and prosperous. In Colorado alone, over a 10-year period, resettled refugees' economic activity contributed $1.1 billion in gross state product and $2.4 billion in industry activity. Refugees fill critical labor gaps that otherwise would hinder economic growth and expansion of Colorado businesses. Occupations employing the greatest number of refugees experienced growth of over 100% from 2011 to 2016. Refugees are inclined to entrepreneurial efforts too, surpassing other foreign-born populations in business startups. Earned income from refugees generates job growth as well. Over the last decade in Colorado, 4 new jobs have been created for every refugee resettled. By and large, new Americans do well in school too. MarketWatch, reporting on a 2017 study out of Notre Dame University, shares that resettled refugees who arrive before the age of 14 are highly likely to graduate alongside their US-born peers. Those arriving before age 13 are more likely to graduate than traditional students. Naturally, it takes some time to acquire a new language, 5 to 7 years on average. For many resettled refugees, English is an individual's 3rd or even 4th language. Data presented in the Education Policy Analysis Archives suggest that once the language has been acquired and students have exited English language learner programming, former ELs as a demographic whole outperform native speakers in academic achievement testing. Many refugee families recognize the value of education to build better lives, and we see that reflected in dedicated and high-performing students. It should also be noted that many new Americans come to the US with prior degrees. Frustratingly, these degrees do not always transfer. Sometimes formal documentation of a degree was left behind, cannot be verified because of unrest in the home country, or because of rigid credentialing requirements in the US. Many have expertise in a particular field or trade as well. With this in mind, the prior knowledge that resettled refugees bring with them is one of our greatest untapped resources. 50% of refugees in Colorado report that they are employed below their education level, a phenomenon called brain waste. Underemployment of refugees in Colorado results in lost economic activity. Accounting just for refugees who arrived in a one-year timeframe, the annual impact to Colorado includes a loss of 1.4 million in labor income and a loss of 4.3 million in output. To address this underemployment, the Colorado Welcome Back program at the Spring Institute and the Careers program at Emily Griffith College, in addition to other programs, help refugees with prior education in a particular area to apply their previous educational and vocational experience to a similar career field in Colorado. Not only does this support individuals and their families, but the benefit accrues to us as a state as well. Refugee resettlement enhances the safety of the host nation, according to many reports. SIVs, as mentioned in video 1, are a great example of this. These individuals risked their lives to aid the US government in ways that only someone with localized access could accomplish. Many did so because they believe in the same ideals of freedom and democracy that form the basis of American government. Offering refuge to those individuals who help the United States government supports US efforts to establish and maintain democracies worldwide. New Americans contribute in other areas as well. They bring with them fresh ideas and perspectives, language, art, music, new cuisine, entertainment, athletics, and professional expertise. Perhaps most significantly, refugees are rebuilding some of our depressed neighborhoods and towns and adding new life to communities affected by attrition and loss of industry. This is true in Colorado, where cities such as Aurora, Greeley, and Fort Morgan are experiencing the birth of new restaurants, shops, community centers, and schools in areas where resettled refugees reside. Refugees can and do contribute to society in innumerable ways. We ought to be intentional in our willingness to learn from them, even as we empower them to learn, work, raise families, engage in civic opportunities, and lead within our communities. Refugees are assets to our country and to Colorado. Just for fun, how many of these well-known refugees do you recognize? Each of these famous individuals has a refugee past and has accomplished great things. As inspiring as these stories are, keep in mind that most new Americans will never make headlines. Yet, in quiet and seemingly mundane ways, they strive to shape our neighborhoods for the better, sharing with us their resiliency and dedication to our country. Refugee newcomers to America are fathers, mothers, grandparents, sons, daughters, students, employees, employers, degree holders, voters, clergy, artists, athletes, professionals, friends, and neighbors. We are human. Let's hear from actual members of our Colorado community. The following video was made by Lutheran Family Services, one of the refugee resettlement agencies in Colorado.
I am a father.
I'm a community advocate.
I'm a photographer.
I'm a husband.
A personal banker. An honors student.
I'm working hard to support my family here in the United States. I work hard to live a better life,
to provide quality education and good health care to my children,
to give my special needs son a good future.
I'm working hard to improve myself in a new career.
I love my husband.
I love my mom. I love soccer. I love to help people.
I love America. I love this country.
I care about my future.
I care about my family,
my community,
my son's future.
I care about equality and education for everyone.
I dream of a peaceful world.
To have a house, to have a nice car, working together, helping each other, no discrimination. I enjoy to read books,
to travel around with my lovely wife, meeting people and making new friends.
I value family and I value friendship.
The community that I'm still living in.
culture, respect.
I value freedom and my independence. I'm your friendly neighbor.
I am your photographer.
I am one of your fellow students.
I'm your guide and I'm your security.
I am an immigrant. I am a refugee.
I'm an immigrant.
I am refugee.
Big or small, each of us is capable of impact. By engaging with Colorado Refugee Connect, you have taken the first step toward making a difference within Colorado's refugee service community. We're so glad you joined us for this video series. We hope you've gained a better understanding of who refugees are, how they make their way to Colorado, and how they benefit our local communities. We look forward to welcoming you as part of our refugee serving community and supporting your efforts to get involved in ways that highlight your unique interests, availability, and skill sets. The Colorado Refugee Connect website is a great place to get to know the various entities that make up Colorado's refugee service provider network. Here, you can also explore current opportunities for engagement and grow your knowledge through our Learn page. We're better together, and that includes you.